Since ancient times, the Skaven have searched the world for the stones of power that men in their ignorance call Weirdstone, but which Skaven have long since known as Warpstone, Blackstone, or Seerstone. It was the result of gnawing upon this magic stone in ages past that commonplace rats began the slow process of mutation that spawned the Skaven race. Weirdstone is quite literally in their blood, for they feed upon it and make use of it in their foul sorceries. Until now, the Ratman's search for Weirdstone has been difficult and time-consuming as the stone has grown increasingly rare. But now, a new and abundant source has appeared, a dark blessing from the skies. Hello to all you lovely internet people. Welcome back to Mordheim, City of the Damned. Today, I'm creeping on my mini factory once again, and I found these cool little scatter terrains that are akin to the change demons, and I thought, Eureka! Those look just like the weird stone that you collect in your Mordheim games, the little treasure that your little warbands go to search for. And these models are from One Page Rules, one of the best miniature 3D printing companies out there. And I have to say, I have printed One Page Rules pre-supported models for about 3 years now, on several different resin 3D printers, and I rarely get a failure. And I think that in itself makes the value of their stuff so good. And I have so many files from them, I'll never print everything. But I do find every once in a while there's something in the backlog that is just perfect. So today we're going to make these little markers. Some cool little weird stone representation for the Mordheim table. And I've taken some of this cheap EVA foam. EVA foam can be found in like a lot of like little cheap stores. They sell these little like puzzle piece frames that you put together and use for like a temporary like gym mat. But it's a really nice crafting product. It's a lot sturdier than that pink Styro Dur, the compressed construction insulation foam, which I use a ton of too. I've been really lucky actually to find like a jackpot of that stuff, and I have a ton of it. It's good, but this stuff is cool too. It's got this little serrated bottom too, which this textured bottom, which can kind of like help as a game piece to help it to not slide around. You could use anything else for this. You could use MDF, you could use dollar store foam, whatever you really want, just something sturdy. And I have these 3D printed little pieces, printed out a few plates full of them just to kind of have some options. And there's like these freaky little vases with like a gem floating out, really cool. This like claw with the globe. What is that? I don't know, but I want to put it on the thing. Yeah, these little books. How cool is that? The little book that's printed on the machine. And these are printed on my Frozen Sonic Mini. Awesome machine. I think they're like $120 right now on Amazon. Great product. So, got my abused glue gun here. This is my neglected girlfriend here. This poor thing does so much for me, and I just leave these little strings on it. This thing has been through hell and back, but keeps doing the thing. And we're just gonna hot glue these dudes onto the pieces. And I've spent a little time too playing around with them and trying to figure out what's the kind of best place to put them so they are aesthetically pleasing, because I think essentially that's sort of the purpose of these. You don't really need these to play Mordheim. You can use like a little gem or a little cardboard piece, but I like to do these little extra things. It makes it fun, and when you get a friend to play with you, they are usually blown away, and that in itself is kind of worth the price of the tickle, so to speak. And we're going to take some glue and do some basing here. And these pieces are pretty versatile too. I think that you could probably find a use for them in your Dungeons and Dragons campaign for some sort of weird gems, weird crystals that you see that the party comes across. I'm actually running a D&D campaign right now, and I sort of stole the idea of the weird stone, the warp stone, from Mordheim. I incorporated that a little bit into my campaign, and my players aren't really big. They're not Warhammer people, so they just don't really know about that story beat, and it's a really cool story beat. It's kind of the ultimate MacGuffin, the ultimate Baby Yoda, so to speak. Now, for those of you who don't know the story, basically the story is that Mordheim, there is an asteroid made of this substance, this weird stone, warp stone as we know it. Hits the city, demolishes most of the city, the ruins are left over, and then these war bands that we play in the game go to seek out this weird stone, like a bunch of demented Indiana Joneses? Is that the correct plural? Comment below for the plural of Indiana Joneses, Jonesine. You get the story, you get the gist. I just love that element of almost a sci-fi type thing, an asteroid, and then you have this fantasy thing. It's perfect. I love it. It makes the story in the game a lot of fun. Now, we've got these little bases put with glued some texture to them, some rocks, some sand. We hot glued the 3D printed elements down, and now we're doing just a little base coat with some tacky glue, some water, and some cheap black acrylic craft paint. Now you can use Mod Podge, you can use PVA glue, you can use varnish, all sorts of products. We just want to put a good base coat on these guys. We're gonna mix up that stuff, dilute it with a lot of water so it gets into the cracks and the crevices, and we're just gonna cover that guy. And there you have it. Base them, let them dry, and now I've got my airbrush. I've put some white ink into the airbrush, and I'm just putting in a cheap little highlight on there. So yeah, just spraying these bases with the airbrush, hitting the highlights. Just want to get these guys done. I want to get them over with. We're going to primarily use greens and yellows for these. That is the canonical color of the weird stone / warp stone. So the black is going to be no good for that. The green is not going to show that well. We want to take advantage of the undercoat here by using a little white. And eventually my airbrush clogged and I had to finish it with a brush. Don't tell anybody. Now, I sped this up a little bit and I'm taking a few different just inexpensive craft paints here. We have a dark green, middle green, and then this more kind of like neon-y fluorescent green. And then I have a little bit of this Vallejo fluorescent yellow, and I'm creating basically a gradient here, and I'm gonna use this to create a object source lighting effect. Not an amazing one, but a good enough object source lighting. Starting with the darkest on the outside of the base, moving inwards, and going back to blend the colors a little bit to create a little glow effect. And you can kind of see that as I sped up the effect here. And after I worked on the gradient for a little bit, I'm gonna just take a pure fluorescent yellow here, and I'm gonna kind of start glazing a highlight. I'm gonna put some in the center of this little sphere here. I'm gonna glaze that outwards. I'm gonna hit the edges and the tops of these funky crystals here, and a couple layers of that, and we have a really nice little piece to put on the game table. And also I'm gonna make just really quickly some more scatter terrain for my table. And I found these amazing little barrels from Loot Studios, who's another one of my favorite 3D printing companies, and they do a great monthly D&D membership where they have like enemies, heroes, terrain, everything you would need for an awesome D&D session. So check out the link below, they're great. Moving onward, we have these dollar store wooden craft cubes, and I just glued them together with some tacky glue, and I'm taking a permanent marker, and I'm just doing some easy crates, little stack crates, and we're going to put the crates adjacent to the barrels, and we're going to have some nice sort of blockades, barriers, places for miniatures to jump on top of, and some immersion for our Mordheim game. And these are not my original idea. Call these the Wyloch Boxes. They are an idea taken from Wyloch's Armory, one of the most famous crafting YouTubers to ever live, and I will put the link below. And I love these little easy Wyloch boxes. If you're just starting to craft for D&D, or even war games too, this is probably one of the first things you should make. Make a bunch of these. I use these darn crates every D&D game, every dungeon, every bandit warehouse, every villain's hideout, every vampire's castle has just got some crates and some barrels. Need them, gotta have them. And you can see I have them on the top left here, and I've made a bunch to put onto the table to add to the ones that I already have. And I just take some craft paint and I'm just diluting the heck out of that with just some plain Jukko water that I've been crafting with all day, and I'm gonna just put that over these little wooden boxes. And the wood is gonna, one, absorb that, and two, that acrylic paint is gonna basically go down in its vividness as it dries. When acrylic paint is wet, it tends to look very strong, and when it dries, it tends to look a little more subdued. So we paint these guys, let them dry, and then we're gonna move on to the barrels. And these are gonna be really simply, we're just gonna get down and dirty. We're gonna paint them brown and let them dry. Do a couple coats on them because I'm using this cheapo craft paint again. And eventually we're going to just super glue those when they dry against the barrels. And there you have it. We're going to show those in the beautiful bean footage at the end of the video though. So thank you for watching and enjoy.